Recently, Diablo 2 Resurrected was officially announced, but what are the major changes that players should be aware of before they even consider purchasing the game, and will they be better or worse for players old and new alike?
Not even death can save you from me.
New look, same D2. The first and most glaring upgrade are the visuals of the game. The world has been skinned over with a sleek, modern look that we've come to expect from modern game designs, yet it still sits with a sort of familiarity, and we'll jump into that, but Resurrected specs are pretty impressive, and it will be playable at resolutions of 430/20p uncapped for the PC and 2160p at 60 frames per second on next-gen consoles. The graphics are actually going to be toggleable between the remaster visuals and the classic game. This is due to the method that the developers use to keep the game flowing at the same familiar pace we've been accustomed to for the last 20 years. However, original Diablo co-creator David Brevik pointed out on Twitter that they may need to make some, quote, small modifications in the AI radius and skill ranges because the original game was built for a 4:3 aspect ratio display. In turn, it'll make the AI aggro range a major concern here, and the devs are looking into how they're going to address this. Now, obviously, you don't want this huge visual area to have an extra wide monitor, and given the resolution actually affects whether or not your enemies see and are therefore drawn to you, you don't want to pull the entire area of the screen because now you have all this extra visual space. Though I would love to imagine the entirety of hell being alerted to you as soon as you step through that portal. Now, additionally for visuals, every item in the game is getting a visual update to more closely resemble its in-game icon versus just the generic version. Standard, magic, and rare equipment will still appear on the character as it had before by showing up as a specific tier of armor. Body armor, weapons, and shields will also appear as they had before, and helmets will do the same. However, the dev team have chosen to rework the weapon and armor appearances of unique items. You could say they're making them unique to more closely resemble their equipment icons, which is a huge plus because you don't feel very unique, only looking cool inside your inventory. From intricate weapons like the Brain Hue Great Axe to the very simple items like the elusive Harlequin's Crest. It's a cool little fix, but especially in the case of the Harlequin's Crest, they missed an opportunity to harken back to the design from Diablo 1, which, I mean, it looks really cool inside your inventory even in that game, but it also makes sense to continue in this fashion to keep the feel of the original game.
Will my Shaco still be green?
Was it green in the first one?
Is that your answer?
No, I'll give people a better answer. So the icon of it is green in your inventory, so it will be green in this one. Whatever it looks like on your character in-game, exactly what it looks like on your character in this one.
Okay, I will allow it.
Also keeping with the original as close as possible are the cutscenes. While these have been confirmed by Rod Ferguson to be the area where the game could be considered a quote-unquote remake, with every scene being rebuilt using modern CGI software while keeping the same direction from the original title in a one-to-one method.
Are there going to be high texture animated cinematics at the end of every act and major moment like we had in Diablo 3? Basically the question. So are the cinematics in D2R similar to the way that they were done in Diablo 3?
So no, the style of how they were done in D3 is different. So in D2, what we're doing is we're literally remaking shot for shot all 27 plus minutes of the cinematics that have just become iconic for Diablo 2. So the original soundtrack will be playing all, remastered for 7.1. But the visuals of what you see will be full 3D models, full scenes, what you come to expect from a current gen Blizzard title.
One of the things that's great too is we're actually keeping all the same performances. So we're up-resing the audio, but those actors' performance, Marius or Marius. It will still sound like Marius and his following of the Dark Wanderer, which I think is really cool.
None of the voice acting is going to be changed. I love Marius, played by the late, great Frank Gorshin. He is irreplaceable. Also, fun little fact, he doesn't actually have an in-game player model, though he is, for all intents and purposes, the guide and narrator for the whole game of Diablo 2 and Lord of Destruction, till his gammy legs get kicking and Bale goes to work on the little bastard.
Now I think you shall have your reward.
I've done to deserve.
Last but not least, for the aesthetic, we come to classes. While this has been a topic of much controversy across social media over the last few days since this recording, one cannot deny the intricacy of the detail work in the armor and weapons adorning each class. From broader designs to more functionally accurate works with rigid, raised and gilded steel, textured leather, and buckles, all the buckles, Tetsuya Nomura would be proud. Now, players will also notice the characters going through different animations if they sit idle, or carrying weapons a little differently. Small things like that. Quality of life content. As many gaming aficionados will tell you, graphics aren't everything. I mean, especially for Diablo. Come on, 20 years and it's still beloved. But Diablo Resurrected comes with a bunch of quality of life changes and options to the game's current systems, the greatest of which arguably has to be the implementation of a shared stash.
Things like a shared stash, we know people use mule characters, right? And so adding a shared stash, we felt was the right choice when it came.
We have a shared stash?
We have a shared stash.
Yeah.
We have a shared stash.
Oh, thank God.
Now, the way that the shared stash works is there are rules, right? You can't have your ladder characters mixing a stash with a non-ladder character, and you can have your offline characters, can't use your online. But for the most part, we're like, people do this anyway with a mule character, so it's okay to give them this feature.
That is like the greatest feature that you could add, because there's nothing worse than opening up the game, going in, dropping all your GG items to mule them over because you've run out of space, and then not being able to log back in, or the game's not created, or it didn't perm in time, and losing all of your gear, or trying to find someone to help you transfer your gear over, because, oh my gosh, a shared stash is amazing. Thank you so much. That's such a help.
Additionally, there will be several different settings that are toggleable for those that wish to enjoy the game as it originally functioned versus how Resurrected functions. Such as, this includes an auto loot feature for gold pickup, so you're not individually clicking piles of gold, holding Alt. They also added a comparison toggle for simplifying whether or not pieces of gear are upgrades for ones you already have equipped.
The item comparison is a great example of us adding it, but added it with a measured hand. So we don't suggest any gear for anybody. The gear in Diablo 2 is so quirky and different, and every class can use everything, that us recommending things like that actually was more confusing to people. So you hold shift and it's like, here's what you got equipped, here's what it is.
Additional to this, the ability to toggle all your bonuses applied from gear. Now you won't have to micromanage calculations per one of your overall upgrades from equipment or charms. Everything is collected together in one easy to read menu.
As well. So we're going to be showing you all the information you get from items as well. So you don't have to do that kind of math with like looking at each of your items and calculating how much magic find you have, for example. It'll all be like summarized right there for you.
There is an auto party system for automatically joining and creating parties in game. However, if you still want to jump into an open game and shout TP for half an hour, go for it. D2 Resurrected offers a colorblind low vision mode as well, and made alterations to how text is displayed to be more accessible to those who need this option, as well as 5 additional languages to further diversify the accessible languages for a wider audience. And while modding will still be a thing to a degree, which really can't be helped because despite Battle.net's stricter security, there is still easily accessible coding to mod the game, botting and duping will be strictly discouraged and policed on the server, a feature currently present on the modern Battle.net client. This is an amazing feature due to the abundance of botting and duplicating items on D2 currently, which makes online play particularly frustrating. Also, you can host your own dedicated server for just you and your friends. But the best part about online play is it's no longer region locked. You have friends in the States, Canada, South America, Europe, Australia even. I'll be your friend. It doesn't matter. Play with anyone, anywhere, anytime. Our Discord is linked in the description, and we are pretty worldwide as well with over 500 members. There goes the plug. Next is things are no longer just PC, but also console. Diablo 2 was the only game in the entire series, for those of you who remember playing Diablo 1 on PS1, to be constrained purely to the PC platform, and this has remained true for 20 years. However, Diablo 2 Resurrected is making a move to be playable on multiple platforms, including PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, in addition to PC. And there are a few key factors that make this a very well integrated feature. First and foremost is cross-progression. Characters' progress will be able to be transferable between PC and console via an internet connection. This means while you can play on either platform completely online, if you have an internet connection and you make a character on PC, the progression is saved to the Battle.net client and can be downloaded to your console of your choosing if it is too connected to the internet. Say you want to stop playing on your PC because you have to go out or leave to go to another room for a while, and you bring your Switch with you, or God forbid we get to travel again and you take it on an airplane and it actually has decent Wi-Fi. This feels like I'm just speculating about a future that will never exist. I'm sorry, I just had a mental breakdown. I hope you're all okay. You can continue your progression on that particular character and not have to worry about starting another character, which is currently an issue with the console and PC versions of D3. Also of note, devs working on D4 confirmed this will also be a feature on the game, which is awesome. Now, this of course varies differently from the aspects of crossplay, meaning playing from a PC with console players is not something that has been denied as a feature by the devs, and they are looking at it, so stay tuned for that. Now, a big question that's probably on a lot of players' minds concerning console play is controller support and how this will affect the interface specifically for D2. While inventory space, which along with stash will remain unaffected from the original game, it's being looked at. The devs have already put forth an idea of what we can expect from the console versions, which looks very D3 in nature. Also, the main action buttons as skill shortcuts, which for quick play purposes is really nice, but still limited compared to the PC version where you can hotkey and infinitum various skills and abilities. Potions were a major concern because they're sticking with the potion belt system from the original, but they've also worked that out by using the directional pads to access each individual belt slot. Also, run/walk is toggleable via pressing the left analog thumbstick, so that's also a nice thing too. Controller support is absolutely going to be a thing for PC as well. The devs even confirmed this, where you load up the game via mouse and keyboard, then hit a button on the controller and play. This of course is entirely optional. If not utilized, the player will be able to play D2 Res in the standard fashion. As far as what the interface will be for the PC controller support, there is currently a little bit of uncertainty about how that's going to play out, given the control schemes are tied directly to the functionality of the game. Also, for the competitive players, while the original game and Resurrected will be two completely separate games, the leaderboards for ladder play will be universal and accessible on all platforms. Thoughts? Aside from all these changes, the game will remain largely the same. Again, the changes in graphics are really just a reskinning and polish running over the original game, even going so far as to add additional animations to better bridge the breakpoints to have everything in the game run a bit more smoothly. Content will remain the same and will include Lord of Destruction for all acts to be present in game. All 7 classes, stash and inventory sizes, skills and abilities, rune words, Battle.net chat, TCP IP connections, and even smaller non-game breaking exploits like positioning during combat used to cheese bosses like Mephisto, or even speedrunning exploits. And perhaps most importantly, on the community side of things, while features like chat will change due to the modern Battle.net client functionality, older community sites like Ariat Summit will absolutely be applicable, given everything except the visuals will be changed to fit this upgrade. Now that's going to wrap up the video. If you liked it, please hit the like button. It helps out the channel tremendously, and of course subscribe if you haven't done so already. Head over to Discord to join the crusade as we discuss lore and have a generally awesome time being very supportive community preparing for Diablo 4 and Resurrected, which we'll also be discussing in many videos to come. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, Traveler.